I will have to adjust your brain a bit.
Beans, a valuable source of protein, dietary fibre, iron, magnesium and folate. While the Western world eat the variety that come from a can, many other countries need to invest a great deal of time and energy into preparing this staple food. Beans need to be soaked in water, then cooked for long periods to become edible. In many countries, firewood happens to be the main source of cooking fuel where beans are a staple.
Ya llegué. ¿Dónde está mi comida?
Sí, mi amor.
¿Por qué estos putos frijoles tardan tanto tiempo en cocinar? Tengo hambre.
No sé, mi amor.
Yo trabajo como un burro para poner la comida en esta mesa. Y la quiero ahorita.
It can take between 7 to 11 kilograms of wood to cook 1 kilogram of dry beans. When you consider between 16 and 34% of beans are eaten per capita in these regions, that's a lot of fuel. Often it is the responsibility of women and children to collect the firewood which is required to fuel the cooking process. This is not only time-consuming, preventing them from engaging in more worthwhile activities, such as attending school, it can also be a very dangerous task. As they travel by foot over rugged terrain, they are at risk of physical injury and exposed to threats of sexual violence. Previously, studies have been done on the influence factors such as storage time have on seed cooking time. However, a recent groundbreaking investigation by scientists at Michigan State University have looked at how genes control this underrated characteristic. They hope to identify genetic markers which will assist in breeding a variety with a rapid cooking time. This will have many beneficial implications for gender equality, nutritional value, and energy utilization. In 2012, we selected over 200 bean types from the Global Bean Library, known as the Andean Diversity Panel. This storage bank is compiled of large-seeded dry bean accessions originating from Africa, Europe, Asia, the Americas, and the Caribbean. The seeds were planted and grown at Michigan State University and, once matured, seeds were harvested and used for analysis. First, properties of the seed coat were evaluated through a technique called visible and near-infrared reflectance spectroscopy analysis. Put simply, this is a non-destructive examination of how light is reflected differently by the different intact dry beans due to varying moisture contents in the seed coats. The data was analysed to see if this information would correlate with the bean cooking time.
Next, assessments were done on the water uptake and cooking time of all the beans. Seeds were weighed, soaked for 12 hours, and weighed again to see how much water had been absorbed.
We then used a specially designed cooking apparatus to accurately determine how long it took the beans to cook. This was done by recording how long it took for 80% of the seeds to be completely pierced with a stainless steel pin. Interestingly, the 4 of the 5 bean cultivars with the fastest cooking times originated from Africa, while 1 was from South America. This suggests that there is indeed a genetic influence on bean cooking time.
To identify which genes were responsible for the variation, a genome-wide association analysis, or GWAS, was performed. We basically use software which is capable of identifying specific markers on chromosomes. This sorts the different cultivars into a matrix based on how genetically similar they are.
The results included traits such as bean weight before and after soaking, cooking times, and bean colour. These traits were then assessed for correlation between origin, cultivation status, and seed size. The average cooking time was 37.35 minutes, with the shortest length being 16.5 minutes and the longest at 90 minutes. However, there was a tendency for the beans to take a longer time to cook.
We also found that generally white beans have the shortest cooking times, while red beans have the longest. We speculate that this is because white beans have less phenolic compounds on the surface. Additionally, we found that 4 out of the 5 fastest cooking times were from land races. This suggests that farmers from these areas where they were sourced have been indirectly selecting for faster cooking germplasms. On average, beans sourced from South America and the African Asian areas cooked faster than those from the Caribbean and North America. 4 out of the 5 fastest cooking beans were from Africa. The size of the bean seed did not have a great effect on cooking times. However, cultivars which took up less water during the soaking period generally took longer to cook.
The reflectance analysis attempted to demonstrate the relationship between seed coat colour and cooking times. 37 features were used as precursors to predict the cooking time, and when analysed against the actual cooking time, showed positive association. This method may be used to assess cooking times of various beans in the future. However, it does not account for the structural complexity of the seed core, which may also influence cooking times.
We were able to identify significant trait markers on chromosomes which correspond to cooking time and water uptake. Chromosomes 1, 3, 6 and 7 correspond to water uptake, while chromosomes 2, 3 and 6 contain genes which associate with cooking times. Chromosome 6 was the most significant set of genetic markers associated with cooking time. It was found in 96% of the cultivars and was shown to increase cooking times by up to 14.5 minutes.
The genes of interest on this chromosome correspond to the development of seed coat pigment. This reflects once again on the fact that dark pigmented beans were shown to take longer periods to cook. Other genes in this region coincide with the transport of calcium in the seed. This may result in strengthened cell walls, which in turn may increase cooking time.
The results of this study show there are some large variations in the cooking times, with some cultivars taking over 5 times longer to cook. The research also shows that there is a genetic basis for these differences. Future research will focus on better understanding the relationship between the genetics of bean varieties and their cooking times. This will allow for selection of specific traits to be applied to breeding programs and the development of faster cooking bean varieties. While cooking time in beans may seem frivolous to the Western world, it is worth remembering that shorter cooking times could have a positive impact on countries where beans are the staple and wood is the main source of cooking fuel. Less time spent cooking means a rise in the standard of living because less time needs to be devoted to collecting firewood and household chores, leaving time for the finer things in life.